Tom Campbell here. I and MBT Events hope you like this video. It was made possible by donations from our supporters. If you're one of them, thank you so very much. If you're new to MBT and find something of significant value in our videos, please consider supporting their production through our Patreon account or through a one-time donation. It would be very much appreciated. The links are in the description below. Thank you.
Our next question is from Przemysław from Poland. Do we keep our memories after death until rebirth and the awareness of who we were? Do we have to be reborn right away, or can we decide to stay in other focus levels for a while? I remember Tom saying that when we die, we feel like waking up from a dream. But do we remember who we were? And if so, where are our memories stored, if not in our physical brains? Now, when he's speaking of focus levels, those are something that the Monroe Institute used to use, which is not really your kind of theory. But how would you answer that for
Okay. Well,
Mislav?
there was a bunch of questions there, and one is, do we remember our past lives? And in general, we do not. Now, that's not always true. We have a little boy who was, 7 or 8 years old, and he knew all about his past life in detail. And you can go to the University of Virginia, and Donna will tell you a little later. I think it's Grayson, right? Look up his work, and he will, explain, or he will give you cases like that. And this little boy wasn't the only one. There's been lots of children who have known things that would have been really impossible for them to know. This little guy was not old enough to be that familiar with the details of World War I or World War II, airplanes and pilots and names. And, that's something that would have taken an adult researcher probably months to dig up the kind of details that he gave freely. So in any case, yes, sometimes that memory comes through. Mostly it does not. Now, why does it come through sometimes? Well, because the system allows it to, so that it can help wake people's minds up and show people that, look, reality is a lot bigger than it seems. See here, this 8-year-old can tell you all about the plane he flew and where it got shut down and what his name was, what the name of the pilot was. That was his name when he was flying that pilot. He can tell you the details of the airplane and the serial number, written on the airplane and so on. And you go back and check all that up, and sure enough, there was a guy by that name, flew that plane, crashed in that spot. And how did this guy know all that if it didn't come from just inside his mind, you see? So yes, some people do uh, come through, and some people will get flashbacks, and some people will go do what do they call it, a hypnotherapy. They'll be hypnotized and regressed into their past life, and they'll discover it there, and there's other people you can read about if you wanna do that. Donna will also tell you a name or two there. But in any case, um, those kinds of things, yes, past lives are sort of available to you if you go seek them out, but they're not really all that important. It's more curious egos would like to know, rather than that it's really important information that we need. Now I'm talking about most of the time, most of us, most of the time. That's true. So yes, when we die, we do start to forget that past life, just like a dream. It goes away. And that's because we want a fresh start. We don't want to drag all of our preconceived notions, beliefs, and ideas with us into the next life. I mean, the whole point is that you start over. You start from scratch with nothing except the quality of consciousness that you've earned up to that point. And now you get a whole new set of conditions with a whole new set of choices, and you get to apply that quality of consciousness that is yours to these new sets of conditions, brand new. So you can't game the test. You can't say, oh, well, I know this is the right answer. So, I've done that before. I know this is the wrong answer. I won't do that, because now you're using your intellect to make your choices, and your choices aren't reflective of who you are. You're no longer an authentic being, and you're no longer actually growing very much from your choices. You don't grow from intellectual choices. You grow from being level choices. So for this to be an effective learning lab, you need to, one, start over, start fresh. Now, you will have all the quality you learned, so you don't lose anything that's important, but you won't have any of the old facts or information of your last life, because that would just get in the way. That would lead you to game the test. Oh, I remember my last life. Yeah, I had anger management problems, and I was always flying off the handle. That created a lot of trouble. So now, when I get angry, I'll just stuff it down. I'll just smile when I get angry, and I won't do that. You see, that's not helpful. That's not helpful at all. You have to learn not to be angry, not to act angry. So that's what I mean by gaming the test, you know. So we don't want to make a lot of good actors through this process of consciousness evolution. You know, we're not trying to create good actors. We're trying to create good people. And that happens when you have to apply what you know to a whole new situation. And what you do and how you interact with it is right out of your being level. You can't go back and cheat with information from the past. You have to just be and act the way you are. And now you get an honest, sincere, answer that really represents you from the core. So it's important that you start over for that reason. Another reason that it's important that you start over is think of all the baggage you would have if you came into a new life and you say, let's see, I have had 30,000 children, 15,000, husbands or wives. I've had all these people who were just as dear to me and as could be. And they all remember me and I all remember them. Gee, I'd like to go see them. But it's going to take me probably 10,000 years to go through all of these. If I spend even a day with each one, it won't work. So it doesn't work out that way. It's much better to let that go and we start again. So now, where does the information lie? Was one of the questions. It lies in the database. Everything we do, say, think, feel is captured in a database, and that's us. And when you go visit dead Uncle Fred in your mind, when your mind connects to dead Uncle Fred's mind, you are connecting with that database. And if you want your dead Uncle Fred to exhibit free will and talk about current events, then the larger conscious system will play your dead Uncle Fred with the constraints of what's in the database that defines your Uncle Fred. And it will be exactly like Uncle Fred. It'll say all the things that Uncle Fred would probably have said. You see, so it's a near perfect rendition of Uncle Fred, but it's just data in a database that can be animated by the larger consciousness system if necessary. So that's where all the information is. And that information has to be there, not just so we can look at past lives. It's there because it's needed for the rendering engine to do our simulation, to make our virtual reality. The rendering engine needs to know what the possibilities are and what are the probabilities of those possibilities, because the way it determines what new things are that come into this reality is by taking a random draw from a probability distribution of the possibilities. So it needs that information. It doesn't want to start trying to figure that out, every time it needs that information. So it keeps a database of it handy. So it will have that on necessary when it needs it. As time goes by, then that becomes the future becomes the past. And now you have a database of everything that could have happened and the probability that it would have happened. And that's this past database. And your dead Uncle Fred is in that database. He's captured in there in every way possible, such that your interaction with him will be just like interacting with Uncle Fred,
Now,
even though
some
he's.
people find that sad that free will awareness unit, the part of the IUOC that played Fred, is not hanging out somewhere, is not meeting up with relatives, is not available to talk to, but they are. And you spoke about the free will awareness unit. That was fascinating how you said each one is unique, a unique composite of the IUOC, unique selection of qualities. And this is where the quality that you talk about that we carry on is so interesting. That one free will awareness unit was very unique. And that information about that individual's choices remain, the quality remains. And you can see because reincarnation or life experience packets, as you prefer to call them, is key to your theory. And you can see how going on with a different set of the qualities you've accumulated in the IUOC is diversity, which is also a key element of what your theory is. So when people say you are unique, they are 100% right. Who you are as Tom or who I am now is a unique blend of the qualities, the choices, and that's so interesting to me. You go on to another set of uh, mix, a mixed bag of qualities in another lifetime packet, and then you learn that way. Taking memories of a past life doesn't make sense always. It could be helpful in some cases. It has been eye-opening. It may be helping with phobias or things like that on the far sides of the curve. But taking memories, just the details of a lifetime, is not particularly helpful because you're moving on. You're moving on with the real who you are in different mixes. You know, that IUOC has all of the quality. It's the accumulator. So you've got different mixes of that in the next life experience packet. So that is fascinating. And I hope people will find some comfort in knowing that that person's life was extremely important and remembered and can be researched in the database. But going on in this unfolding adventure of evolution is what everything is all about. So I hope there's something, good in that for them.
Yeah, well, that's well said. And that uniqueness that is them persists in that database. That database captures every detail of that uniqueness as it unfolds in its interaction in the larger world. So, yeah, some people find it very sad that, Uncle Fred isn't still there kicking around someplace, the same free will awareness unit. But that just doesn't make um, for an efficient system. If you come up with that, there's all sorts of problems and inefficiencies in the system. It just doesn't help consciousness evolve. Actually, what it does is help consciousness get stuck. It keeps consciousness from having the the choices and the um, novelty, the new things to deal with, the new ways of thinking. It inhibits growth. So the larger consciousness system wanted to create by creating this virtual reality we call our physical universe, wanted to create a way to help individuated units of consciousness evolve. And having each instance of a consciousness, attached to an avatar, have that to remain forever as a entity with free will making choices, just is terribly inefficient way to run a schoolhouse, if you will. It is not on the way to success for anybody. It's not good for the system, not good for the individual. It's a way to retard your growth, not accelerate your growth. So the system is made for us to succeed in becoming love and caring and learning. Well, if we look at our world today, we think that we got a long way to go. And that's because it's such a hard thing to learn. But it would be even harder to learn if we didn't, move on to new experiences. It would be a much harder thing to learn if we got stuck in old experiences and in old attitudes and in old beliefs. That would be, a big drag on our ability to learn and grow and become more. So it's a good system optimized for our success. And part of that optimization for our success is that we only take our quality of consciousness into the next experience. And there we interact freshly with the new choices that are presented to us. And we interact with them because we are who we are. And because of that authenticity, we have an opportunity to learn and to grow from those from those choices. So yes, we are the sum of all of our choices. That's who we are. And when we die, all of those choices we made and what that sum came to is all still there and can be explored and can be reanimated by the system if necessary. But it's just there as data. It's not an active free will going about its business, still making choices, because that moved on. That person with the free will making the choices has moved on to something that is more likely to increase their growth than just continuing on with the same thing in the same way.
But all those qualities that are so loved in that deceased one that was lost are manifested in the qualities, like you say, that loving nature, that good person. Now, that must hold true also for those who are negatively evolving as well. And they'd have to continue to go through that cycle until you
Absolutely.
ultimately say, we decide that moving towards love is the better choice. He also asks, do we have to be reborn right away?
No, you don't have to be born right away. You're never forced to do anything in this system. Your free will is, for a better word, sacred. Your free will not ever be abridged. Nothing, nobody will say, you get over there, do that. That never happens in this system. Free will is very important. And the system knows that you are more likely to grow and succeed in an atmosphere of freedom where you get to choose than you are if somebody's trying to tell you what to do and and tell you why you should do it. So you have freedom. And if you decide, no, I don't, I want to do something else, what are my other options? And you will be told what some of your options are. You will maybe you'll say, well, I still want to incarnate someplace where I can learn, but not on Earth, not that place. I've been there before. I don't like it. Let me try someplace else. And the system will put you someplace else if that's what you like. So you have choice in the matter. Most people, when they let go of the past experience, and they no longer have all that negativity about how awful it was and so on, most people want to go back because they already know the ropes and how things work in the earth system. That's familiar with them. They know, been there and kind of got the sense of the culture, if you will. So they may want to go back within the same culture. That may be something you could ask. And if that wasn't going to get in your way of learning, then the system would say, sure. If that was going to get in the way of your learning because you always go back to that same culture and therefore you're not getting enough stimulation to be different and to go different ways and to grow, you don't have enough, what's the word, um, diversity, then the system may say, that's probably not a good idea. And if you say, yeah, but that's what I won't take anything else, then you'd be able to do it. And the system would give it to you. But your growth would slow down. And eventually you'd realize that. And things wouldn't work out so well for you because you wouldn't be taking advantage of all the opportunities you had. And then you would change your mind. Eventually you'd grow up to the point where you'd say, okay, I want to go someplace else. I need new input. I'm stuck in the old input. So, yes, you can force your way into things if you demand, because will not, the system may tell you no, but it won't tell you what you have to do. Mostly, if you're very adamant, it will let you do it your own way, even if that own way is inefficient, just because that way you'll learn that it's inefficient. After you do things that are inefficient a whole lot, you'll say, I'm not getting anywhere. I wonder why. And then one day it'll come to you. Oh, it's because I'm being a real bonehead about, always doing the same stuff in the same way. And that's why I'm not learning. So you'll learn. The system wants you to learn. The system doesn't want to bully you. It wants to let you learn in your own way. So
Well,
yes, you have choices.
I'm curious about some of the things you said about near-death experiences. Now, there are choices sometimes to go back or not go back. I've heard that from people. You have a choice. In some cases, maybe this is rare. There isn't a choice. There's no, you
A
need
lot
to
of
go back.
cases, yeah, a lot of cases there is no choice. The person
So is that
says,
a free will thing?
I don't want to go back. I really don't want to go back. And the system says, sorry, yeah, back you go.
Now, how does that fit in with free will?
Well, free will doesn't say you get everything you want. That's not free will. Okay. So if that was free will, then we'd all be rich and famous and wealthy. If having free will meant you got whatever you want, that's that is not free will. Free will says that of the choices that you have, you get to make them. Well, sometimes you don't have any choice other than to accede to something, right? I mean, when you're a child and mom says go to bed, sometimes that means you have to go to bed whether you want to or not. And that's just the way it is. But you have other choices. When you go to bed, you can lie there going la 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 and keeping your eyes open just, to not go to sleep. Or you can get out of your bed and sneak out and put your ear against the door or at the bottom, the crack in the door and try to listen. You can do other things. You still have free will choices. But there are some things that you can choose to do. If let's say you're in jail, somebody puts you in jail and you say, oh, I'm in jail here for life, but I want to go home for Christmas. Well, sorry, you don't have that choice.
So
You see?
you're hinting to perhaps a contract or a mission or something where you have to finish that lifetime. That's something outside of free will then. It's
Well,
not
yeah.
the right time.
Yeah, it's not the right time to do that. There's more for you to learn in that situation. So the system, because at that point, the system knows a lot more about what's going on with you than you do. The system knows what you've been doing, where you are, what you're learning, what you're having trouble with, what you're struggling with. And if it came to the conclusion that, it really would be good for you to just stop, get out of that reality and start over, then it would not say you have to go back. It would give you a choice. But if it looks at it and says, for them to quit here, it's just going to make things harder for them. But they don't know that. They don't understand that, which is like a child that doesn't understand it needs to sleep and needs to go to bed. So there's some of those things that happen. Yes. Sometimes you're told no for your own good, but rarely. That doesn't happen a lot. We are not generally herded around like children and told what to do. The system has as light a touch as possible, but it tries to help us optimize our opportunities for growth. So if you're going to do something that's going to make your growth inefficient and not optimize it, it will encourage you not to. Now, when you were, let's say you're having a near death experience and the system says, no, it's not your time yet, you need to go back. If you put up a really big fuss, and fussed and fumed and made a big deal about it, the system may agree to it. Said, all right, you're out of there then. It might, but most people don't. When the system says, no, you really need to go back, most people go, oh, okay. And they go back.
They see something of value there.
Yeah,
So it
they see,
really is kind of a choice then not to ignore
yeah,
the
yeah,
LCS.
yeah. So the system doesn't want to fight you and force you,
Yeah.
but there are some times when it knows information that you don't know, that it will try to help you make a better decision. If you absolutely demand to make a poor decision, mostly it'll let you make the poor decision. But if you're given some advice and you take it, well, good. You know, you take the advice and everything works out better for you. You have more opportunities to grow. But if you want to, you know, be very demanding that you have your way, then you'll get your way, but you will probably start having a less efficient evolutionary process, and your ability to grow up is going to be slowed down because of you demanding your way. But that's life, right? You're self centered and demand your way because you know everything better than anybody. Well, then you're going to be a little slow evolving because, you know, that's just the way it is. Same with a child. You know, when you know people, whether they're a child or adult, doesn't matter. You know, when you know everything and you demand to have your way, then generally your life isn't very good. Your life gets worse and worse and worse because that's a very inefficient way to go through life. You think you're omniscient and know everything and you're smarter than everybody, you know, and that just causes you to make a lot of terrible decisions. So it's the same way, you know, if you're not in this reality frame, you're in some other reality frame, that rule still holds. People who are that self-centered don't do very well. It's a it's a detriment to be that self-centered.
I see. I understand it a little bit better now. Um, it's a compelling argument that the LCS gives that people will reconsider, and they're not particularly forced in, but the advice that, you know, now you need to really go back because of this, that makes a lot of sense.
Well,
Um,
mostly when people say I don't want to go back, it's not because they see a more efficient growth process. It's because they see something that's easier and feels good. They see, you know, they feel all the love and all everything's
yeah,
perfect and they don't have any pain and
yeah.
everything is great. And they say, I don't want to go back there. That's hard. This is easy and wonderful. You see, well, that's not the good reason. That's not a good reason to make
Yeah,
that choice. You're there for a reason. You're there in that life because you have things to learn, and to just get out of it because, oh, well, that's hard. I don't want to do things that are hard. I want this easy, loving, nice space that I'm in now to go on forever. Well, it won't go on forever. You'll just have to start over and get into another thing that's hard because you have to grow up. So they're making that choice for the most part for not the right reason. You know, it's kind of a, a poor reason. You know, it's like somebody who says, I don't want to get out of bed. I'm lying in bed this morning. Okay, I've been in bed now for 3 days. I haven't gotten out of bed, but I really don't want to because it's nice here in bed. It's nice and comfy, and only good things happen. So it's that sort of thing.
okay.
Uh,
Well,
it's a
thank
poor
you.
choice. The system knows it. It tries to help you, but if you fuss and fume and are very self-centered, then you probably will be given your way. So,
Well, thank you for answering that, and I hope that answers his question. I think you've expanded on it a little more than usual, so that's great. Thanks a lot, Tom.
oh, you're welcome. I and MBT Events hope you liked this video. We will continue to post videos for free on my YouTube channel, but please understand, these videos are expensive to produce. They represent many thousands of hours of production and editing, as well as all the necessary audiovisual equipment, computers, and software. If you find something of significant value in our videos, please consider supporting their production through our Patreon account or through a one-time donation. It would be very much appreciated. The links are in the description below. Thank you.